Hello guys, welcome back to our YouTube channel. In this video we are gonna see, what if Naruto got harem with Kushina, Mei and Mikoto? Part 2. If you want more awesome fan fiction like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. So without wasting any time, let's get into the video. Later that evening, Naruto was currently sitting in the living room of the Namikaze mansion. His mansion, trying to decide on whether or not he should go to the Hyuga compound for dinner later, because you see he was invited over there earlier by the Hyuga clan head himself, Hiashi. It's probably just going to be another one of those silent and boring dinners they always seem to have, he said to Kyubi, who was trying to help him decide. True, but if you go you will be able to see her again. How long has it been? Kyubi asked him. Years, he shrugged, not really knowing the answer. I think it's been at least 4 years. She stated, trying to remember. Something like that. Remember, I stopped going there after Hanabi's 4th birthday. Hi. Because you thought that they, or more specifically she didn't need you around, considering she had 2 daughters to take care of. Hi. He frowned. Well, I think you should go to the dinner so you can, catch up and see how she is, and whatever it is you monkeys do when you haven't seen someone in a while. I suppose you're right, Kyubi, like always. He mumbled the last part, getting a giggle in the response. But for now, Naru-kun, why don't you come in here and dominate me? She purred seductively. Arriving at the Hyuga mansion, he was immediately welcomed in like he was a long-lost son or something. Naruto dono, I'm glad you came. I was afraid you were going to decline our invitation like the previous times. Hyuga, Hiashi said with a smile. Yes, well, I figured it was about time I accepted one of them, Hiashi dono. Naruto told him, being respectful. Well, I'm glad you did. I'm sure my daughters would be happy to see you. The Hyuga stated. So that what this is about, he thought, getting a chuckle from Kyubi. Hey Kyu, how's your face? The blonde asked her. It's fine, Koi, but you shouldn't be that rough. Omen, how about after dinner I come back in there and kiss it better? I'd like that, Naru-kun. Here we are, Naruto dono, dinner has already been prepared and the family is waiting for us. Walking into the dining room, he was hit by the heavenly aroma of miso ramen. Looking around the table, he saw that Hinata was staring at him again with a blush on her face. Hinata's younger sister, was looking at him with confusion. Probably wondering who I am or wondering about my eyes, he said to himself, and looking at the person whom Hiashi had sat down next to, he couldn't help but smile. It was her, Hyuga Hiromi, a woman that he had always adored. Her gentle nature and the way her smile always seemed to calm his spirit. Bowing to her, he said, thank you for inviting me. To which she stood up and bowed back, not saying anything. Which is something he knew that she didn't have to. Sitting himself down, he prepared himself for a long night and saying a quick itadakimasu, he split his chopsticks and starting eating. When dinner was finally done, he lazily told Kyubi. I told you it was going to be silent and boring. To which she chuckled. I wouldn't say boring with the way you kept glancing at Hiromi's E-cups, Naruto-kun. Alright, fine, apart from finding out that she has E-cups, you have to admit I was right. He said, pouting childishly. Yeah, you were right, it was boring. I wonder if they even speak to each other when they don't have guests. She wondered, making him chuckle as he came out of the bathroom after washing his hands and started to make his way to the living room where he was told they would be. Walking past the open back door and looking outside, he saw Hiromi sitting under a tree with a faraway look on her face. Hiromi-chan. He said, making his way outside. Naruto-kun. She responded, shaking her head and looking at him. What are you doing out here? He asked. I could ask you the same thing. She stated. Scratching the back of his neck, he said, I was walking past the door and I saw you sitting out here by yourself, so I thought I'd come talk to you. Nodding, she just rested her head against the tree and closed her eyes. Do you remember this tree? Kind of. This is where I started walking, isn't it? He asked her after Kyubi filled him in and getting a nod from the Hyuga. It was. I used to love every time you came around. You always used to make me smile or laugh and you always made me forget. She stated, much the confusion of Naruto. Forget what? He asked, to which she responded. How much I hate this place. Her voice barely above a whisper, but Naruto still heard her. Konoha. The Hyuga. She corrected. Eyes wide, Naruto remembered that she had once told him that she was forced to marry Hiashi just so that she could breed some purebred Hyuga for the future of the clan. I actually do remember you telling me once that you never liked being married to Hiashi. He stated, getting a nod from her. I had always dreamed of marrying the man I loved and I'd be happy and would cherish every moment with him. Instead I got stuck with Hiashi. She told him sadly. Frowning, he sat down next to her. I'm sure it can't be all bad, I mean you do have 2 daughters. And I do love them, it's just sometimes I can't even stand looking at them because they always remind me of my past and what could have been. She frowned, wiping away a stray tear. I hate what my life has become. Wrapping an arm around her, he said. I used to love it when you smiled, you always used to look so beautiful. But then you stopped coming around and I stopped smiling. She stated. I stopped coming around because I thought that you didn't need me here taking up your time when you had 2 daughters to care for. He told her, frowning. You obviously wouldn't have known it back then, Naruto-kun, but not only did I want you over here, I needed you here. I'm sorry, you're right, if I had known that back then I would have always been around here. After a minute or two of silence, Hiromi, who had leaned in against him while he still had his arm around her, said. Please Naruto, I want to smile again, please make me smile. Naruto, after a moment of deliberation, decided to tell how he felt being around her when he was younger, which afterwards she had smiled too. I probably shouldn't be saying this, but he began. Did you really feel that way? She asked him. Hi. He nodded, to which her smile widened somewhat. Do you still feel that way now? Of course I do, when I walked into the dining room earlier I couldn't get over how beautiful you are, and I will always love you for being there like a mother figure for me, he told her. After a few moments of silence she reached over and kissed his cheek, her lips lingering. Smiling slightly, he kissed her forehead before turning to look up at the night sky. Back inside the house, Hiashi, who had gone looking for Naruto, had heard what they had said. If only you were born a few years earlier, Naruto, then maybe she could have been happy. The man thought to himself, knowing full well his wife, from the moment they were first married, was never happy, and he really couldn't blame her. Perhaps there's still a way she can be happy. He thought, walking into the living room where he knew shit would be hitting the fan pretty soon. When Naruto and Hiromi came inside and went to the living room, they found that the Hyuga elders were sitting there waiting patiently, seemingly for him. Namikaze dono. One of the men greeted. Hyuga dono. Congratulations on becoming a genin, Naruto dono, although I hear you're in a team by yourself. Hi, but I actually find it better this way, but let's cut the bull, shall we? Every time you want to talk to me you want something, do what is it? We want to talk to you about the craw. Getting a dangerous glare from the blonde. What about it? He snapped, holding back a growl. We wanted to talk to you about arranging a marriage between you and a member of our clan. And who would this member be? Well, we were thinking of our future clan head, Hinata. No. Naruto said simply. Why not? Hiashi asked, glancing at his wife, who had a frown on her face. She's shy, timid, and I know she stares at me, but that only started when I stood up for against those bullies, so when she says she loves me, it's only hero worship. And besides, she's not exactly my type of woman. He finished, glancing at Hiromi for a second and saw her smile for a moment. That is something Hiashi saw. Very well, how about Hanabi? Too young, and aside from that you've already started to mold her into the perfect Hyuga. She's still a kid, but she's already walking around with a 10-foot pole stuck up her face. He stated nonchalantly, glancing at Hiromi again and winked at her, making her smile again. Then how about another Hyuga? One of the elders suggested, getting angry. No offense, but there is no one you will suggest that I agree to marrying. He told them. Why not? One of them asked grumpily, trying to ignore Naruto's previous vulgarity. Because there's only one Hyuga I'd ever be interested in. Who is it? They all asked excitedly. Smirking, Naruto turned around and said, have a good night. Before he walked off. Hiashi, who was watching his wife follow the blonde out of the room, saw the deep frown on her face. Who were you talking about, Naruto-kun? Hiromi asked, making him stop and turn around so that he was facing her. I think you already know, Hiromi-chan. He responded, making her stop in her tracks. You don't really mean me, do you? She asked him, making him smile warmly at her. I said I will always love you, Hiromi. He told her. As a mother figure, right? Please tell me that's what you mean. She practically begged him, looking like she was about to cry. Walking up to her and hugging her, he whispered into her ear before kissing her cheek, I found my real mother 2 weeks ago. Have a good night, Hiromi-chan, he said, pulling away from her and walking away, never seeing her tears. Later that night, Hiashi was lying in bed next to Hiromi, listening to her crying. Hiromi, do you want to talk about it? Sob. I know you are unhappy with our marriage. He said, making her turn over and look at him. You sob, you know. I've always known, but I didn't how much you were until I overheard you and Naruto talking earlier. I sob, I'm sorry, Hiashi. It's alright, Hiromi, I can understand. I myself never agreed to this marriage in the first place because I knew how much you loved Minato. He stated, which caused her to sob even louder. How do you feel about Naruto? He asked her. He's always reminded me of Minato-kun, you know, kind-hearted, strong-spirited, willing to sacrifice himself for others like he did with Mikoto. Well, what would you think about being in a relationship with him? What do you mean? She asks, finally stopping crying. Well, let's say we get a divorce. You and I both know Naruto is under the craw, so it would be possible for you to marry him. But wouldn't the elders place the cage bird seal on me? Well. Yes, they would, but you forget, Hiromi, that Naruto has access to his father's library, and Naruto is the only one who has access to Senju compound, aside from Tsunade. And don't forget that he is also an Uzumaki, so if anyone is capable of removing that damn seal, it would him. Do you really think that this is a good idea? I would love nothing more than to be free and happy again, but what about Hinata and Hanabi? I can't just up and leave them like that. They are both strong and smart girls, sure they may resent you, but if I were to tell them the truth about the matter, I'm sure they will come to understand. You really think so? She asked, to which he just nodded. And you would really be okay with this? You deserve to be happy, Hiromi. I'm just sorry that I wasn't the man that could make it happen. Hiashi frowned. Kissing his cheek and smiling, she said, despite how I feel, Hiashi, I always thought you were a good man, a good husband and a good father. Thank you, Hiromi. He smiled. Do you really want to go through with this, Hiashi? If it makes you happy and it makes you smile, then yes, I do. Thank you, Hiashi. She said, sitting up. Do you mind if I go talk to Naruto-kun about this and see if he agrees? I don't mind at all. He said as she practically jumped out of bed. A few minutes later, Naruto was lying in bed meditating. Well, he wasn't actually meditating, he was actually drawing nature chakra into his body. 4 years ago, Kyuubi had told him about how actual sages could draw on nature chakra and utilize the power of senjutsu. Kyuubi had also told him that normally if someone drew on too much nature chakra they would literally turn to stone. But they both discovered that thanks to his eyes, he could actually regulate the amount of nature chakra he drew upon, so there has never been a chance that he would actually turn to stone. Which he had always been extremely thankful for, by the way. Hearing a knock on his door, he opened his eyes, revealing them to be golden color, though they still had the 3 rings and the small dotted pupil of the Rinnegan. Walking out of his bedroom, it took him a couple of minutes to walk downstairs and reach the front door. Upon opening it, he was quickly hugged by Hiromi. Hiromi-chan. What are you doing here? We need to talk, Naruto-kun. She said, pulling away from him and noticing his eyes for the first time. Shrugging, she decided to file it away for later and said, sorry, I couldn't wait until morning, Naruto-kun, but this is important. Shrugging, Naruto ushered the surprisingly giddy woman inside. What's up? He asked her. I'm getting divorced. She informed him. What? He was shocked. What the hell happened after I left? I'm getting divorced, Naruto-kun. It was all Hiashi's idea, you see. She informed him of their discussion. After a few moments he sighed and asked, and the two of you are really okay with doing this? She nodded. And you really want to be in a relationship with me, even though you know I have to marry more than one woman? Things between us may be a bit shaky at first, but Naruto-kun, you have been the only person in the last 12 years to actually make me happy, and I feel that in order for me to stay happy is to be around you. The only question I have is, do you want to be in one with me? Well, as long as it makes you happy and the two of you are 100% okay with this, then of course I am. I did tell you how I felt about you. He smiled at her before she glomped him and practically suffocated him between her impressive bust. Thank you, Naruto-kun, thank you so much. It's fine, Hiromi-chan, real. He said, managing to get his head away from her chest and get some air. So where do we go from her exactly? He asked. Well, I was actually kind of hoping that I could stay here with you if that's okay. She blushed. That's fine, I can make up a guest room for you. He said, about to get started on doing so. Well, I was actually thinking that we could sleep together. She blushed, poking her index fingers together in a Hinata-like way. I guess that's where she got it from. He thought to himself. My Hiromi-chan, I never thought you would be so forward. He teased her, chuckling as her face turned completely red. Not like that. She shrieked, I just meant, you know, in the same bed so I could see what it would be like. See what it would be like? He raised an eyebrow and sighed. If you want to, Hiromi-chan. He said, grabbing her hand and leading her to his bedroom. I hope you don't mind, but I like to sleep in the nude. An eep was heard as they disappeared up the stairs. It had been a couple of months since the Genin teams had been announced, and let's just say that Naruto has been bored out of his freaking mind. The D-rank missions were a complete joke. Take, for example, the Capture Tora mission. Within 20 minutes he had gone into part of the forest outside Konoha, drew in some nature chakra, and all matter of insects and animals were drawn to him like a prostitute to an infection. To him, the damn cat was so easy to find that all other Genin teams let him catch it every day so that they didn't waste their time on it. But Naruto hadn't exactly cared. It gave him a chance to talk to Madame Shinjimi, who just happened to be the fire daimyo's wife. Sure, every day she tried to set him up with her daughter, who by all means was as big as his mother, but he didn't care. She was a nice person, but they had little to nothing in common. Well, except for their love of food, of course. He had shown her just how much ramen he could eat in one sitting, 23 bowls, and she had shown her how much she could eat. Measly to him anyway. 6. Anyway. Back to the missions, and Naruto was currently walking down a dirt road with teammate, and they were on their way to Wave Country, escorting a bridge builder by the name of Tazuna. It was their first C-rank mission, and like I said before, Naruto was bored, although right now he had a good view of Kurenai's face, considering that he was walking right behind her. Sure, the team's genin had noticed and Kurenai had as well every time she turned around to talk to one of them, but she didn't seem to care, hell she had even swayed her hips seductively for him every now and then. The genin, especially Inyazuka Kiba, really did want to say something about what was going on, but they knew better than to try and mess with Naruto after what happened at the genin test and the subsequent beatdown the already beaten Kiba had gotten from his mother. He still didn't why she had decided to bloody him up, but he figured this is be crazy. Man, she can be really scary sometimes. The Inyazuka boy said to himself. Woof woof. His thoughts interrupted by his dog companion. What is it, Akamaru? Kiba asked his companion, who was currently placed on the boy's head. Woof, woof, woof. The game jutsu? Where? He whispered. Woof. Looking over to where the dog said, he noticed a puddle on the ground next to the road. Is that really a game jutsu? It probably just rained or something. He thought to himself, looking at the rest of his team and Naruto, only to see that they were none the wiser to an apparent game jutsu nearby. Meh, it's probably nothing. He shrugged to himself. Little did he know that everyone there except for Tazuna, who was a civilian, had figured out that the puddle of water was actually the game jutsu Akamaru had pointed out to him. Byakugan, Hinata muttered, activating her Dojutsu and looking at the puddle. Two people? I wonder what they're waiting for. She asked herself before she looked at her teammate Aburami Shino, who like Hinata, had taken note of the game jutsu when his bugs had alerted him to it. He figured since no one on his team or Naruto had reacted to it, he would wait and see what would happen. What a pathetic game jutsu. Kurenai and Naruto thought to themselves. It hasn't rained in weeks. How dumb could this person be, Naruto thought. When they passed the puddle, they were slightly relieved and disappointed that nothing had happened until Kurenai was suddenly ripped in half by a man with a metal claw-like gauntlet on his hand. One down. The man smirked, rushing toward Naruto. Teammate watched on, horrified, as Naruto was ripped apart as well. Two down, the rest of you should give up, you don't stand a chance against the two of us. A second man said, appearing next to the first one. WHWHU, are you? Hinata asked, terrified. Tuckling, one of the men said, I'm Gozu and this is my brother Maizu. What do you want from us? Kiba yelled at them, shaking slightly. Haha, we want the old man, kid. The one known as Maizu chuckled, so why don't you hand him over and run away so you can live? No. Kiba shouted, it's our mission to escort him to Wave Country and you will not stop us. Have it your way then. Gozu shrugged, rushing forward only to jump backwards when a swarm of bugs came toward him. Taking this as his chance, Kiba exclaimed, let's go, Akamaru. Woof, the dog agreed, jumping off of Kiba's head, landing next to him. Jin Bunshin, beast human clone. The Inyazuka exclaimed as Akamaru transformed into a copy of Kiba. Datsuka. Fang passing Fang, he exclaimed as both he and Akamaru jumped into the air and started spinning and headed toward the brothers. Only for them to quickly run out of the way and dodge. Gozu, who was closest, ran toward Hinata and threw a poison tip chain at her, only for it to be redirected to a tree by a kunai courtesy of Shino. Kuzo. Gozu shouted, trying to get the chain out of the tree, only to end up detaching it from the gauntlet on his arm to avoid another Gatsuka courtesy of Kiba, who was unlucky enough to get scratched by a metal claw that Maizu had on his hand when the brother saw the boy land after missing his brother. Good work, Maizu. Gozu smiled. Now let's finish this. Gozu said as the pair charged forward using speed that was too fast for the genin to see. When the brothers were mere inches away from both Shino and Hinata, they were suddenly stopped in their tracks when some chains wrapped around their bodies. What the hell? Where did these chains come from? Maizu shouted, thrashing around trying to get loose. From me. A voice said behind them. Namikaze. Kiba exclaimed, shocked, before he looked over to where Naruto died and saw chunks of logs. Harem? He wondered in disbelief. Now, Gozu and Maizu, was it? I heard that you two after the old man. Care tell us why? We won't tell you anything, you damn brat. Oh, I assure you that you will. In fact, I'm so sure that I'll get the information out of you that you won't even have to say a word. He told the brothers as everyone just looked on confused. How so, Naruto-kun? Kurenai asked, appearing before everyone. Kurenai-sensei. Kiba shouted happily. It's quite simple, Kurenai-chan, just watch. He told her, walking over to Gozu and put his right palm on his head before he looked over and stared at Kiba. All I have to say is one little thing. He smirked. Kiba's eyes widened as those exact words echoed through his head. Human path, the blonde said. Everyone watched as in just a couple of seconds the man's body slumped before Naruto released the man from his bonds. Let's see now. Gozu and Maizu, a pair of Kiri missing nin known as the Demon Brothers. It seems they have teamed up with former Kiri swordsman and A-rank missing nin Mamachi's Abusa and have been hired by a man named Gato to kill the bridge builder Tazuna-san. He informed everyone as they all looked at him like he had suddenly grown an extra head. What did you do to my brother? Mizu screamed, trying and failing to get out the chains. I killed him. Naruto lazily shrugged, going with a long story short approach. Nani? Everyone present screamed. You heard me. He's dead just like you. He gurgled when Naruto threw a kunai at his head, which landed right between the man's eyes. Dude, that was cold-blooded. Kiba told him, shuddering, with everyone agreeing with him. They were the enemy. What would you have done in Yazuka? Piss on them. He said, walking away, leaving a twitching Kiba, a stupefied teammate, and scared Tazuna behind. Are you guys coming or what? This mission isn't over, you know. The blonde yelled back to them, making them all shake out of the stupors and run after him. Meanwhile, in the surrounding trees. Are we going to fight them, Zabuza-sama? The blonde seems plenty strong. Did you see those chains that he used, Haku? Of course I did, Zabuza-sama. He's clearly in Uzumaki. The swordsman stating, getting a gasp from his companion. In Uzumaki, I thought they were all dead. Haku stated. So did I, but clearly one or even a few survived the war. What do you plan on doing then, Zabuza-sama? Haku asked. I'm going to see what the brat's made of, Zabuza answered, frowning a little. Were his eyes what I think they were? He wondered before shaking his head. Let's go, Haku. I want to meet them in Wave Country. Hi, Zabuza-sama. An hour later, after they had gotten off of a boat that man had waited for them with, teammate and Naruto were walking down another dirt path, with Naruto ogling Kurenai's behind once again before his danger sense went off when he heard something coming toward them, and fast. Everyone get down. Kurenai screamed, grabbing Tazuna and diving. Thunk. Well, look at what we have here. Zabuza chuckled, landing on the handle of his sword that was currently planted in the tree. Yuhi Kurenai, Konoha's resident Genjutsu mistress, the man continued, crossing his arm. And 4 little brats. He glanced at the genin. Mamachi's Abusa, A-rank missing nin from Kiri and one of the former 7 swordmen. Kurenai calmly stated, although on the inside she was a nervous wreck. I can't fight a guy like him. I may be a jounin, but he is on a completely different level to me. She thought to herself, pulling out a kunai. HMPH, he grunted, doing a front flip off the sword handle, and when his body had reached a certain level, he grabbed the handle with both of his hands and ripped it out of the tree, and teammate watched on nervously as the swordsman landed rather gracefully on the ground. At the same time, the tree he jumped from fell to the ground with a massive thud. You can relax for now, Yuhi. I'm not here to fight you yet. I've only come to tell you that in a week's time I will come for the old man. Zabuza said, staring straight at Naruto, who stared right back, getting the silent message. I wonder why he wants to fight me. The blonde asked himself. What's the matter, Zabuza-chan? Do you need a week to prepare yourself against someone of Kurenai's caliber? Naruto teased the man. DCH. Please kid, it's going to take a whole lot more than some pretty woman with a couple of mind tricks to take the demon of the mist out. Zabuza mocked Kurenai, who twitched slightly but otherwise didn't react. Chuckling, Naruto responded. A demon, you say? Well, aren't you in for a big surprise? If you're trying to scare me, kid, it's not going to work. When I was your age, I had already killed all the members of my academy class just so I could graduate. The man smiled as everyone but Naruto gasped in response. Well, when I was my age, I had already killed the man who stole this from Konoha. Naruto remarked, pulling a scroll out from his pouch and unsealing the hilt of his sword. Zabuza was about to mock Naruto, however he stopped in his tracks when Naruto activated the sword. Is that Kurenai began, but was interrupted when Naruto continued for her Raijin no Ken. Wide-eyed Zabuza asked. You couldn't possibly mean the Raijin no Ken made famous by Senju Tabarama, would you? The one and only. Naruto nodded. Shit. If he has that, the Uzumaki bloodline and the Rinnegan. Maybe this mission won't be so boring after all. I wonder what else he's hiding. Zabuza mused. You're one interesting kid, you know that. I look forward to meeting you in battle, Blondie. The swordsman stated before jumping away. Where are you, Tsunami, Anari? Tazuna asked himself. When he and teammate arrived at his place, he expected to see his daughter Tsunami and his grandson Anari waiting for him. But they weren't there. Teammate and Naruto had searched the entire country and unfortunately they had come up empty. That was 2 days ago. Day 3. They were getting increasingly worried. Tazuna was a complete wreck and no one knew how to console him. Although, since they had yet to find any bodies yet, Team 7 and Naruto were beginning to think that the two of them had left the country altogether for whatever reason, either that or they had been taken, but they didn't want to think about that. Right now Naruto was in the forest using nature chakra to communicate with the animals. You know, you really should stop following me. He said to no one. How did you know I was following you? A feminine voice sounded throughout the trees. It seemed to be coming from all directions, but Naruto wasn't fooled. "I'm special," was his simple yet cryptic answer. "I doubt that, perhaps it has something to do with the gift the gods have bestowed upon you," a woman said coming out of the trees. "She's beautiful," Naruto thought, ignoring a growling Kyuubi. "Don't be fooled, Naruto," came her booming voice. "How can I?" Naruto asked her. "Look at her, she's nothing but nature chakra, I wonder who she is." "So what can I do for you?" the woman asked, smiling at him. "Huh? What do you mean?" Naruto asked, confused. Raising an eyebrow, the woman answered. "You called me to you by using your skills in my forest." "Your forest?" "My forest." The woman nodded. "I don't understand, Kyu." "She's the mountain woman, Naruto," Kyuubi said between growls. "Ah," Naruto said out loud. "I take it your tenant has informed you of who I am." "Yeah, you're a mountain woman." TSK. "Not a mountain woman, I am the mountain woman." She smiled. "Forgive me." Naruto bowed his head. Waving him off, she asked him again. "So what can I do for you?" "Well. I didn't mean to call you, but since you're here. You wouldn't happen to know where a woman and her child have disappeared to." "You mean Tsunami and Anari?" The woman chuckled. "You know where they are?" Naruto asked her, slightly relieved. "Such contradictory names, don't you think?" she said. "A tsunami is a water wave of destruction, yet this woman has a gentle soul, and Anari, well, I doubt I need to explain that to you," she stated. "Do you know where they are?" he asked her through gritted teeth. "You are the third of your kind I have seen in a very long time. Follow me," she told him, turning around and walking away. A few minutes later they came upon a small, not so empty clearing near the center of the forest. 7 people were sitting there talking, and Naruto immediately recognized 3 of them. "Samui, Karui, Amoy, what are you doing here?" "Naruto-san." Samui smiled while the other 2 just nodded. "Tsunami-san and Anari-san came to Kumo and asked us to help." It was one of the 4 Naruto didn't know. Taking a look at the man, Naruto knew he was a Kumo nin, and Kyuubi immediately knew he was Hachibi's container. Nodding with that piece of information, he turned to look at the only 2 non-Kumo nin in the clearing. "Tsunami?" he asked the woman, and she nodded. Looking at the small boy for a second, he nodded before he turned to the man who spoke before. "Who are you?" "You can call me Killer B," the man said. "What's wrong with you?" Carrie asked him. "What?" Killer B asked her back. "You're not rapping," she said, gobsmacked. "I've been told not to in the presence of these 2. Killer B shrugged. "That's nice." Naruto shrugged. "And who might you be?" Naruto turned to the last person he didn't know. "Vegito Nai." She smiled. "Anibi Jinchuriki," he added, repeating Kyuubi's words. "That's me." She nodded. "I get it now," Naruto said, turning to the mountain woman, getting a raised eyebrow in response. "I'm the third of my kind you've seen in a while." He repeated her earlier words. "You certainly are." She smiled. "So why did you bring them here?" "They got lost in the woods. I told them that a god was coming and that they should wait here with me until you get here," she informed him. "Me? But I'm not a god." He frowned. "Not yet," she replied simply. Shaking his head, he changed the subject. "Tsunami, we should get you home, Tizuna's pretty worried about you." "Yes please, I'd like that." "Then let's go," Killer B said. "No, this Namikaze, only one with the power of 2 can free the one born of the eternal flames," the mountain woman stated. "What are you talking about?" Naruto asked her. "Goodbye, Namikaze. And remember, Tsunami, don't not get lost in this forest again, for I will not be so kind. After all, taking travelers is kind of my thing." She smiled and waved cheerfully before disappearing into the trees. "I thought Kamis were the good guys," Amoy said, with all but 3 nodding in agreement. The here in question were actually looking at each other, perplexed by the fact that their respective demons were currently laughing at the statement. Later that day. "Fusan, we're home," Tsunami exclaimed as the group entered the house. "Tsunami-chan." Tizuna yelled, running through the house and practically tackling the woman into a hug and crying. "Tsunami-chan, I'm so glad you're alright." "Sorry Tusan, I just thought we could use some more help, so we went to Kumagakure and asked them for help," Tsunami explained. "Which is why there are Kumo nin standing with me in the doorway," Naruto stated. Wiping his tears away, Tizuna picked up Anari and quickly moved out of the way so that those standing in the doorway could get in. "Naruto-kun," Kurenai said, getting the blonde's attention. "Were you the one who found them?" "Not exactly," Naruto told her. Seeing the look on her face, Naruto shrugged. "Long story, I'll tell you later. Right now introductions are in order." Starting from left to right, he introduced everyone to each other. "This is Killer B, Yujito, Amoy, Carrie and Samui. Guys, this is our Jounin sensei Yuhi Kurenai, and this is her team Aburami Shino, Inuzuka Kiba and Hyuga Hinata." "Nice to meet you all." Yujito smiled. "I guess we will be working together then." Carrie added. Hi, we are and I for one am certainly looking forward to it. Naruto told her with a smile. Why's that blondie? Carrie asked. Why wouldn't I look forward to working with you or Samui-chan? Naruto asked back. TCH. Whatever. The redhead huffed. Smiling he turned to Samui. Glad to see you're still wearing my jacket Samui-chan. Shrugging, she responded. It suits me. But it does, although I do have to say I am a little disappointed that you're not topless this time. Naruto told her, giving her a wink. Likewise. Samui blushed. Odd, Yujito thought. What's odd, kitten? Nibi asked from inside her seal. Samui, she's blushing and flirting with this guy. Well, he certainly is a good-looking guy. Maybe you should start doing the same thing. Why would I do that? Yujito asked. He has the Rinnegan, kitten. Nibi told her. What does that have to do with anything? Yujito wondered. Everything, Nibi answered. Like what? You'll learn one day, kitten, I'm sure you will. So I take it you all know each other? Kurenai stated more than she questioned. Hi, we do. Naruto smiled. How? Kurenai asked. He saved our asses. Carrie huffed. Perhaps. Killer Bee said, interrupting the conversation. We should get down to business and decide on how we are going to work together. Agreed. Kurenai nodded. I don't think we should be working together at all. Hinata said through gritted teeth. Why not? Naruto asked her. In case you've forgotten, Kumo tried to kidnap me, Naruto. The Hyuga snapped. Your point being? What exactly? My mother was almost kidnapped by Kumo when she was young for the Uzumaki bloodline, but you don't see me getting angry or worried about them, do you? Naruto asked her, his Rinnegan eyes piercing through her own stare. Quickly looking away, Hinata shook her head. No. Then you shouldn't either. Naruto told her. Besides, they won't try anything with me here. How do you know that? Hinata asked him. It's all just a part of my awesomeness. Naruto answered with a smile. Yeah, right. Carrie scoffed. How are we going to work together? Killer Bee asked impatiently. Well, since we are a bit low on trust, perhaps each team could pair off with each other, you know, so we can keep an eye on one another. Kurenai suggested. That sounds alright. Killer Bee agreed. We can work on the pairings later, right now I think we should eat something. Naruto said at the same time his stomach made a loud grumbling sound. About half an hour later, everyone was sitting around a table and had just started eating. Well, almost everyone. The three Jinchuriki around the table were sitting there quietly not eating. Killer Bee and Yujito had been told by their respective Biju to wait until Naruto had started eating. Meanwhile, Naruto was having a conversation with Kyuubi. You can't eat this, Naruto, look at the small portions everyone has been given. You should give your portion back to someone in the family. Besides, with your metabolism you will just end up being hungry again in not even 5 minutes. Yeah, I know, Kyu. Naruto replied, standing up and taking his bowl with him. Making his way over to Tsunami, he tipped the contents of his bowl into hers, and placing his bowl on the table he turned around and walked out of the room. Follow him. Both Ichibi and Nibi told their hosts. Following their orders, they tipped their food into Tazuna's and Anari's bowls and followed Naruto out of the room. Why did you do that, Naruto-san? Yujito asked when she and Killer Bee caught up to Naruto. Are you kidding? That small amount of food wouldn't do anything for anyone, especially the three of us. Naruto responded. You know that's right. Killer Bee said, rubbing his rumbling stomach. You know you didn't have to follow me, you are obviously still hungry. Naruto told him. I am, but he began. We were told to. Yujito finished for him. How come? Naruto turned to her with a raised eyebrow. Respect. I guess. The blonde girl shrugged, getting an odd look from Naruto. Seeing his reaction, she explained. You are Kyuubi's Jinchuriki and you do have the Rinnegan, so it does make sense that our Biju would respect you. It's probably more fear than it is respect. Naruto told her. Seems like a smart boy. Ichibi stated from within his seal. Which is a good thing. If the mountain woman was anything to go by, he's going to have a lot to deal with. Are you talking about what that woman said? Killer Bee asked. Hi. Only one with the power of two can free the one of born the eternal flame. The demon quoted. Do you know what that means? Killer Bee asked the demon. Of course I do, but since it has nothing to do with the two of us right now, I'm just going to repeat what I said before. He's going to have a lot to deal with. Ichibi answered. Come on 8, you have to give me more than that, yo. The man rhymed. Groaning, the 8 Tails gave him a simple answer. Eternal flames. Come on, kitten. Nibi begged. No. Yujito told her. Why not? Nibi questioned. Because I don't even know him. Yujito explained. Trust me, kitten, you don't have to know a guy to have sex with him. Nibi stated. Well, I do. Yujito shook her head. Come on, kitten. You know he's got plenty of stamina. The demon purred. That's a given. Yujito had to agree. Well, are you going to do it, Harem? Nibi asked again. For the last time Nibi, no I will not. Yujito sighed. Then summon me so I can have some fun. Nibi smiled. Nibi? Yujito exclaimed. What? Nibi asked too innocently. You can't have sex with him. The blonde woman scolded. Why not? The demon cat pouted, the expression looking extremely weird on the face of a cat, let alone a demon. Because. He's human. Yujito told her. I do have a human form. Nibi frowned. Still. I don't think so. Yujito shook her head. DCH, Kyuubi gets to have all the fun. Nibi whined. You don't think the two of them are having sex do you? Yujito asked shocked. With a chuckle the demon answered. With a body like his, without a doubt kitten, without a doubt. Shaking her head in disbelief Yujito said. I don't believe it. Go ahead and ask him them. Nibi shrugged. But I'm telling you kitten Kyuubi is riding his long hard ko. Nibi. Naruto-san can I ask you something? Yujito asked with a face-wide blush. Go ahead. Naruto shrugged. Unlike the other two Naruto wasn't conversing with Kyuubi. Instead he had been watching the emotions that came across his fellow Jinchuriki's faces. Both he and Kyuubi thought it was pretty funny. The only downside being that was pretty much what he looked like when he was doing the same thing. Do you have sex with Kyuubi? All the time when she's in her human form. Naruto answered with a shrug. Seriously? Yujito asked. All the time. Naruto repeated. See I told you kitten. Nibi chuckled. Sigh Nibi, always the pervert. Hachibi mumbled. And I certainly can't wait for the next time. Maybe I'll get started now and wait for you to join me. Kyuubi purred seductively. I'm sure I won't be long. Naruto smiled. I'll be ready and waiting. Kyuubi licked her lips. So I take it Nibi was curious? Naruto asked. No. Nibi was sure the two of you were doing it. Yujito explained. Is she jealous? Naruto smirked. Most definitely. I'm skip. Momochi's Abusa? Killer B asked. Hi. Kurenai nodded. And he wants to fight you? The man asked turning to Naruto. Hi, I think he wants to test the Raijin no Ken. Naruto stated. But I do have a better idea. From what I've learned from Kyuubi. You know Kenjutsu right? Naruto asked the man. Hi. Killer B confirmed. And you use a style called the Eight Sword style? Hi. The man nodded. Do you think you can handle a former member of the Seven Swordsmen? It will be difficult, but I think I could manage it even if it is only for a while. Killer B surmised. What's the matter Blondie, are you scared? Carrie smirked. I've only just started learning Kenjutsu. Even if I practiced all day and all night every day this week I wouldn't last 5 minutes against a master swordsman. Naruto told her. Even with the Rinnegan? Yujito asked. Zabuza is a swordsman therefore he will fight a swordsman. There would be no honor in the fight if I were to use Kami's gift. Naruto stated getting unseen smiles from the three Biju. Besides I have a feeling Zabuza might not be alone. And we still have to deal with Gato and his thugs to deal with. Kurenai added. Exactly. When the time comes my skills could be used somewhere else other than fighting a demon. Yeah Naruto-san right there. Here? Yeah right there that feels so good. Glad I could be of service Amui-chan. Right now Naruto was giving the Kumo Kanoichi a shoulder massage. He was roped into doing it by Samui herself who had walked right up to him, grabbed his arm and dragged him over to the couch. How did you get so good at this? The busty asked with her eyes closed greatly enjoying his handiwork. Well I grew up around a lot of women and they taught me how to give massages. Cool. Yeah. He smiled as he continued to rub her shoulders. Ooh. Samui couldn't help but moan as his hands touched a particular spot. Dinner's ready. Tsunami's voice rang throughout the house. So not cool. Stopping the massage Samui stood up from the couch with a small frown etched on her face. I guess you won't be eating anything again. I suppose I should this time. That's good because I'm sure that even Jinchuriki have to eat sometime, so come on. She told him grabbing his hands and helping him off the couch. Sighing dramatically Naruto followed the busty blonde into the dining room, mumbling something that sounded suspiciously to Samui like yes dear, which put a small smile on the girl's face. It took a few minutes for everyone to situate themselves around the table, but everyone was settled in, they started talking about meeting Zabuza in a couple of days when they were interrupted. Why do you all try so hard, it doesn't matter what any of you do Gato is going to kill you. It was Anari. DCH, you don't know what you're talking about kid. Carrie said through a mouthful of food. What would you know, Gato is too powerful, he can't be stopped. Gato may be a powerful corrupt businessman, but we are shinobi, we are trained in the art of stealth and assassination. Stop trying to be heroes, there's no such thing, don't you see you're all going to die, you should all just go back to your villages. We're not going anywhere, kid, we have a mission and all of us here intend to see it through to the end, whether we die or not it doesn't matter. Naruto told him sternly. But never mind that, Gato will die either by my hands or someone else's. And so will Zabuza. How can you be so sure of yourself? He has been gifted with the power of the gods. As everyone besides Naruto turned toward Yujito who had been the one to talk, Shino was the one to ask. What do you mean by that? His eyes bug boy, the Rinnegan only appears when the gods themselves believe their help is needed. And why do the gods think their help is needed now? That's not for you to know. For now anyway. Naruto finished for her. You're joking right Naruto-sama, it's none of their business. And it's none of our business either Yujito. Killer Bee told her. But. Enough. Fine, but it really isn't any of their business. And do you really think that it's any of ours? Yeah, I mean he is one of us isn't he? That may be, but he is the one with the Rinnegan not you or me, he is the one with the destiny, and all you and I can do is follow him along his path and help him if he requests it. Until then we will just stay out his way. Besides he's a lot more dangerous than any other Jinchuriki out there. We are all being tainted by the Biju's presence, but unlike the others the Kyuubi feeds off of anger and hatred, and if Naruto's emotions slip even once he could destroy an entire village with a wave of his palm, which is part of the reason why I don't want to get in his way. Speaking of which perhaps I should tell him about the Chunin exams. Killer Bee rubbed his chin. That may or may not be such a good idea. The Chibi. You do realize that telling him that his village is going to be attacked is just going to get him angry, on the other hand if you do tell him may I suggest you offer him our services. What? I can't do that, that would mean betraying my village and my brother. Idiot Kyuubi is my sister and Naruto is my no-our master, so trust me betraying your village and your brother is a hell of a lot safer than betraying my sister. I don't know about that. Fool. He could kill us all. Couldn't we stop them? I may be the second strongest Biju in existence and I can withstand the majority of my sister's brutality, but even I'm not dumb enough to piss that fox off. And I also believe that Nibi and Yujito have already accepted the fact that it's better to follow Naruto than to be on the receiving end of a demonified kami ass kicking. So if I were you I would think about your options very carefully. Kurenai-sensei I'm going outside to train. Inuzuka Kiba whispered to his sensei being careful not to wake a sleeping Naruto who was laid out on the floor with the 3 Kunoichi from Kumo sleeping on the floor around him. How does he attract so many women seriously it's like moths to a flame. The lucky team. Alright Kiba don't stay out there too long okay, Shino, Hinata, why don't the two of you go train with him? Alright sensei, what will you be doing? Looking at Hinata, Kurenai glanced at Naruto with a small smile. I'll be right here looking after these guys. Okay. As her students left, the woman was left to her thoughts. Is it respect or is it fear that Killer Bee and Yujito have for him? I wish I knew more about you Naruto-kun especially the Rinnegan. Maybe Hinata knows something, and if not maybe Mikoto knows something. And what happened out there when you found Tsunami-san and the Kumonin? You certainly are a very curious man Naruto. Settling herself on the ground with her back against a nearby wall, her thoughts began to drift toward an entirely different matter. I don't know why I've been teasing you this entire mission, it's been fun, I guess I've been hanging around Anko for too long. I still can't believe I stood there while Anko gave him a beep and I still can't believe I ended up tasting his sperm when Anko kissed me. In a way it's further than I've gotten with Asuma. Not only that, but I still can't get over the fact that a 12-year-old has a bigger beep than a grown man. It's all Anko's fault. The next morning everyone minus Kiba was sitting around the dining room table eating breakfast. Where was Kiba? According to a shadow clone of Naruto, the Inuzuka was asleep in the woods. And why was he sleeping in the woods? He tired himself out after too much training. Who's that? And why is he sleeping in the forest? A young woman couldn't help but ask herself when she came across a boy her age asleep on the forest floor. Bark bark. Freezing in her tracks she looked toward a couple of trees where the barking came from only to see a small white dog that started growling at her. Looking back at the sleeping boy she saw Hit-8 on the floor next to him slightly covered in dirt. So he's a shinobi from Konoha like the blonde boys Abusa-sama wants to fight. So this dog could be a nin dog. Taking a couple of steps back in case she was attacked, she watched as the white dog woke up its owner. What is it boy? Bark bark. Oh hey there, what are you doing out here? Kiba asked trying to pretend that he hadn't just woken up on the forest floor. I could ask you the same thing. You could catch a cold if you sleep out here. Yeah I probably could. I guess I fell asleep out here after training. Training? So you're a shinobi? I sure am. So why were you training? I need to get stronger. What for? One day I'm going to be the head of my clan, but before that happens I need to get stronger. I see, is that your only reason? What do you mean? You have someone that you would consider precious. Precious? Well, there is Akamaru here. Bark. Then there is my friends and family. Do you want to protect them from harm? Sure. Then I believe that one day you truly will become strong. I know so. Now if you will excuse me, I really must be going. Yeah, I guess I should be getting back to my team. They're probably really worried about little old me. I'm sure they must be. It was nice meeting you. Watching as the young woman turned around and began to walk away, the Inuzuka realized one thing. Hey, I never got your name. It's Haku. Hey everyone, I'm back, sorry for worrying you. We weren't worried, dog boy. Yujito told him from her position on the couch. Agreed, we were actually enjoying the peace and quiet. Naruto smiled sitting next to Yujito. What was that, Namikaze? It is so not cool to be that loud in the morning. Be that as it may, Samui-san, it is a good thing. It means that he has all the energy he needs for the fight today. Kurenai has to resist the sudden urge to roll her eyes. Despite what she said, it really was too early in the morning for Kiba's exuberance. She did, however, consider herself lucky that Mito guy wasn't here. How does Samui put it? So not cool. Oh yeah, that's right, today is the day we are meant to go and fight Zabuza. Yes, is Akiba, so good luck out there. Naruto told him. Aren't you coming with us? Nope, I'm going to be right here. What? Why? Well, you were busy sleeping. We all figured that while everyone went to the bridge to fight Zabuza and whoever else may or may not be there, Gatu and his thugs may try something here in town. Why wouldn't he be at the bridge with Zabuza? That is a possibility, which is why everyone besides myself will be going to the bridge. And how do you plan on handling things if Gatu and all of his thugs do turn up in town? Naruto smash. So where's the blonde brat? Naruto. He was smart enough to know he didn't stand a chance against you, so I'm here in his place. So he turned tail and ran like a coward. He didn't run Zabuza, like I said, he was smart enough to know when he's outmatched, so he decided to stay in town in case Gatu and his thugs showed up. DCH, I still think he's a coward. A real man would have shown up for the fight whether he was outmatched or not. Then I guess it's a good thing he's not a man, he is only 12 after all. So what? When I was 12 I already killed all of my classmates at the academy. Believe what you will, Demon of the Mist, I already know your story, so don't bore me with the details. Whether you like it or not, I am your opponent now. Whatever, who are you anyway? That question put a smile on the Kumonin's face. Haha, I float like a butterfly and sting like a bee, I am the Hachibi Jinchuriki, killer bee. You're a Jinchuriki? That's just great. I'm also a swordsman. So what, we're going to have a Kenjutsu fight then? You know something, I remember Naruto once said that there would be no honor in this fight if we did not have a Kenjutsu fight. We may specialize in Kenjutsu, but we are shinobi, we lie, we cheat, we steal, honor has no place on a battlefield. I do have to agree, but in respect for the Uzumaki, we will be doing this the honorable way. Even if the brat is in Uzumaki, you seem to hold him in high regard. I certainly do. Why? He's only a genin, isn't he? That may be, however he is a lot stronger than that, he may even be stronger than the both of us. This wouldn't have something to do with his Rinnegan, would it? Humph, maybe. So is it respect that you have for him or is it fear? That's a good question. Kurenai told herself from behind the pair. And what would you know about the Rinnegan? Only a little bit, perhaps you should take a trip to Demon Country one day. Perhaps one day I will. Now are we going to do this or not? Let's get wild. Activating his Hachibi cloak, Killer Bee was now holding 8 swords. 8 swords? That's not good and I still have the rest of the group to deal with. Haku, get up here. So they came here just like I thought they would. Naruto thought to himself. He had just finished taking out 2 idiots who thought that they could run around and pretend being samurai. Naruto didn't even blink when they came charging through the door. As soon as they came through, he wrapped them up with chains and then speared them through the heart with his crystal. That was too easy. Now I should probably head over to the bridge and join the others. He told himself before turning to look at Tsunami, who had just come running into the room. What's wrong, Naruto-sen? I heard a loud noise. The woman slowly trailed off, seeing 2 dead bodies on the floor in front of her front door. Sorry about that, Tsunami-chan, they came charging through the door and I just reacted. I'll just get rid of the bodies for you. He told her before turning back to the 2 on the floor and holding out his right hand in front of his body. Tsunami watched in fascination as crystal shot out the blonde's hand and hit the 2 on the floor. She wondered briefly why he did that before she saw the crystal grow around the bodies. It was only a matter of seconds before the 2 of them were completely encased in it. But the snap of his fingers, the crystal began to crack and Tsunami watched on in complete awe as the bodies disappeared, seemingly into thin air. That always fun. Naruto smiled before walking toward the door. Tsunami-chan, stay here with Anari, I'll be going to the bridge to join the others, but I'll leave a clone here with the 2 of you in case anyone else decides to come by. Alright Naruto-sen, be safe. Meanwhile on the bridge it was safe to say that Kiba was getting his ass handed to him by Haku. Giant ice mirrors currently surrounded him after Haku had used a jutsu she called Makimheimshim, and every time he tried to smash the mirrors with Gatsuka, the mirrors would just end up repairing themselves. Damn it. He growled to himself, pulling 3 senbon out his arm. I can't keep doing this. Everything I have tried doesn't work, hell I've even seen Shino tried to use his bugs, but they freeze to death before they accomplish anything. Where's Naruto when you need him? He asked himself before he dove to the left to avoid more senbon, however it was all for nothing as his body was hit multiple times. He was unconscious before he hit the ground. Ending the jutsu, Haku simply stood there breathing deeply, trying to catch her breath and wondering who she would be facing next. Judging by all of the frozen bugs on the ground, the one controlling them shouldn't be much of a challenge. The one with the Byakugan, I believe she called it, is not much of a challenge either if I keep her at long distance. I don't know about the two from Kumo, but judging by their swords, I believe they seem to focus more on Kenjutsu than anything else. The Jounin on the other hand, should be able to match my speed, but from what I understand she is a Genjutsu specialist, so I may be able to defeat her with my Makimheimshim. I should consider myself lucky that Naruto Namikaze isn't here. While Haku was thinking about her next opponent, Killer Bee was struggling to find a way through Zabuza's defense. Well, I guess he wouldn't have been one of the 7 swordsmen of the mist if he didn't have any skill with a sword. Blocking a strike, Bee quickly lunged forward using 4 swords to try and cut down Zabuza, however, being the master swordsman he managed to block 3 swords and completely dodge the last one by quickly jumping back and creating a bit of space between the two of them. Breathing heavily, Zabuza wiped sweat off of his brow with his free hand. So this is the 8-sword style, it seems to be impossible to get through, not to mention the 6 Bijuu tails enhancing the strength behind 6 of the swords. The swordsman thought, shaking his head. Looking over at Haku, he was glad to see she had beaten the brat and his dog and was now regaining some of her energy. I knew that brat would be no problem for her. No doubt the boy and his dog are still alive though, even after all of this time, I've never been able to change her mind about killing someone. She's always been so pure. He frowned toward her. I do have to wonder where Namikaze is or whether or not he will actually show up. Honor or not, that blondie is the real challenge. And where the hell is Gato and his idiot thugs? He growled before jumping toward Bee, aiming for the man's knees. Meanwhile Naruto had already arrived at the bridge, but he was only watching what was happening from a tree nearby. It looks like both Bee and Zabuza's attacks are starting to slow down, which means they are getting tired. Maybe I should show myself now. Or maybe you should figure out a way to deal with Zabuza's partner first. That's a good idea. He nodded his head agreement. From here it looks like she is able to use Hyuga. This is going to be a tough one. Once I'm on the bridge my Mokuton is inaccessible. I guess I'm just going to wing it. Either way I'm going to end this quickly as I can. Making his way over to the bridge, Naruto quickly joined Kiba inside the dome of ice. Yo. He waved cheerfully at Haku, who upon seeing him, tensed up. Namikaze. She said, thankful she managed to keep her voice calm because on the inside she was panicking. You know, this ice dome is pretty sweet. Naruto smiled. Thank you. She narrowed her eyes. How are you so calm right now? You're in the middle of my ice dome where I have the upper hand. You keep telling yourself that. Naruto told her, waving his hand at her, dismissing her comment. What makes you so sure? She questioned. Because of this. He shrugged. Hyuga. Hisatsu Himesum. Ice release. Certain kill ice spears. He exclaimed, going through a set of hand seals and slamming his hands down onto the bridge beneath him. Cursing, Haku had just out the back of the mirror she was standing in as a dozen giant ice spears shot out from the bridge and pierced all the ice mirrors in a matter of seconds, causing them all to shatter. I should have known he would be able to use Hyuga. She shook her head. To be able to destroy my Makyo Hyasho so easily. She looked down at her hands only to realize that they were shaking. I know this feeling, fear. She closed her hands into fists. I haven't felt this in a long time, not since my fath. No, I can't think about that now. She sighed. Your end is here. Naruto stated as walked through the icy mist. No, I cannot be defeated. Haku stuttered. I have to protect Zabuza-sama. I'm afraid it's already too late. Naruto told her. No, it's not, I can still fight. She growled defiantly, trying to run forward. She was shocked to realize she couldn't move her legs. What? What is this? So you've finally noticed my crystals. Naruto smirked. Undid. The second you landed on the bridge. Naruto answered. About to respond, a short whistle came from behind her. Turning her body as much as she could, she saw a second Naruto standing behind her. Waving at her, the second Naruto started to chuckle. I love it when a plan comes together. Shaking in fear, she realized it was indeed part of some plan. The attack he used left her with only the one option, jumping out backward, and with the clone lying in wait, it was free to attack while she distracted. Like I said, your end is her. The Naruto standing in front of her stated as he began to walk forward. By now the crystal that covered her legs had made it up to her neck, completely covering her arms in the process. Sighing softly, Naruto came to a stop in front of her. This result was inevitable. Naruto told her. The moment I decided to step onto this bridge, your fate was sealed. No, 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 this can't be the end. She struggled, trying to do anything she could think of doing to try and get herself out of the crystal, quickly realizing it was pointless. No, 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 Zabuza-samaya. She cried, tears streaming down her eyes. Before she was completely encased in the crystal. Pity, she seemed like she had a good heart. He told his clone. Nodding, the clone had to agree. Too bad she ended up being the enemy. He told the original before raising his right hand and clicking his fingers together. Safe travels, Haku. He whispered to Sky as his clone dispersed in a puff of smoke. Over with B, Zabuza was down on one knee, being supported by his kubikurumjim that was gripped in his right hand, while his left was holding the right side of his body, where B had made a deep gash with one of 8 swords. I may already know the answer to this already, but you should just surrender yourself now. Fuck you. Zabuza spat, blood spraying the ground as he spoke. If you do, your life may be spared. Laughing, Zabuza shook his head. Bullshit. Very well. B stated, walking forward. Raising a sword to cut Zabuza's clean off his body, he looked down at the man. Say goodbye, Zabuza Mamachi, demon of the hidden mist. He struck. Well, well, it looks like the demon ended up being about as tough as little bunny rabbit. Freezing in place, Killer B was an inch away from coming into contact with Zabuza. What the hell? He asked, looking up in the direction of the voice. Beto. He growled, pulling his sword away from Zabuza. Standing up, Zabuza had to lean on his sword to stop from falling over. Beto, what the hell are you doing here? He growled. Well, let's just say I didn't have a lot of faith in your abilities. And it turns out I was right to be concerned. That's good. Then maybe you and your boys would like to lend a hand. Zabuza stated, knowing that it would never happen. Lend a hand? Why would we do such a thing? The man started laughing. Don't you get it, Zabuza? We are here to kill you all. This was all part of the plan, right from the very beginning. I was never going to pay you or that ice bis. No, Zabuza, we were going to wait until you were all too weak to fight, and then we were going to swoop in and finish you all off. He explained. But why are you here now? B spoke up. Zabuza may be weakened and his partner may be dead, but myself and my team still have plenty of strength left. That's why we are here now. I decided it was best if attacked you now. We outnumber you all 4-1, you don't stand a chance. I still say that that's still a fair fight. Naruto spoke up after he made his way over to the group. After all, Gatu, none of your men are shinobi, and yet you're going up against 2 trained jounin, 3 hungry Jinchuriki, not to mention a group of genin who have been itching for a fight all day. Do you really think a group of boys trying to play grown up with their knives and pitchforks could possibly cause any damage to any of us? Me and my boys have been in control of Wave Country for a couple of years now. These pitchforks can cause a fair bit of damage. Gatu smirked. Thinking things over for a minute, Naruto decided on a course of action. Well, I can see I cannot sway you with words. Maybe I can do it with some action. Sensetsu Sushim. 1,000 flying water needles of death, Naruto exclaimed, going through a set of hand seals. Everyone watched transfixed as water began to gather in the air to form into needle-shaped objects. Seconds later, the needles moved. Gatu and his men ran screaming as the needles headed in their direction. Some of them managed to dive into the water, others, like Gatu, weren't so lucky. Luckily, Gatu had been struck in both of his legs, stopping him from moving. Who's the pathetic little bunny rabbit now? Zabuza asked the whimpering man after the attack was finished. Laughing, Zabuza walked toward Gatu. You made a mistake in showing up here, Gatu. He said. Reaching the man, Zabuza grabbed the man and made him sit up. Yelling out in pain, Gatu struggled to get out of his grasp. Let go of me, he yelled. Not a chance in hell. Zabuza growled, taking his kubikurumjim, he placed it over Gatu's head so that it went through the hole in the middle of the sword. Any last words? He asked, mocking the man. Wait. The man begged pitifully. I can give you anything you want. Money. Power. Women. Anything. Please don't kill me. Shaking his head, Zabuza couldn't help but laugh at the pitiful man in front of him. Time to die, scum, he said. Pulling on the handle of his sword, Zabuza watched with a sick look on his face as Gatu's head fell to the floor with sickening thud. Well, he said, turning to face the group. That was fun. He grinned. If you say so. Kurenai commented with wide eyes. How can someone kill a man so callously? She asked herself. Well, now what? Carrie asked. With Gato dead, doesn't this mean that this is all over? There's still Zabuza to consider. Yujito answered her. He's not our enemy anymore. Naruto told them before looking at Demon of the Hidden Mist. Isn't that right, Zabuza? He asked. If you say so. The man shrugged. It's not I'm getting paid anymore. Right? Naruto nodded as if that answered everything. What the hell are you talking about, Namikaze? He was just trying to kill us. And he was getting paid to do so. Naruto told her. Just like we from Konoha are all getting paid to protect the bridge builder, and you ladies from Kumo are getting paid to protect Tsunami. But since Gato is dead. Zabuza continued. I am no longer getting paid, which means you are no longer my enemy. He may be considered a missing nin, but he still has his honor. Killer Bee joined the conversation. So what are you going to do now? Naruto asked the man before Carrie could speak. Not much I can do except travel, like you said, I am a missing nin. Why not stay here and wave? Came a voice from the other side of the bridge. It was Tazuna. And he bought the citizens of Wave with him. I guess we're a little late. The old man chuckled, rubbing the back of his head. Forget that. A man from behind him spoke. At least we don't have to fight anyone. Well, that's true. Tazuna agreed, causing the gathered crowd and the shinobi to sweat drop. Turning his attention back to the shinobi, he spoke. Thank you for everything all of you have done here. He told, making the crowd cheer loudly. Not a problem. Kurenai blushed at the praise. I didn't even do anything. Let's party. Someone in the crowd yelled. Yeah, let's party. Everyone agreed. Scene break. It was the middle of the night and the entire town was still celebrating Gatu's downfall. People were passed out on the street. Luckily a few people made it to nearby benches. Kurenai was keeping an eye on her genin to make sure they didn't end up drinking so much, meaning she was watching kibble like a hawk. Zabuza was sitting with Killer Bee and they were currently in the middle of a drinking contest that Carrie and Yujito and a crowd of other people were betting on. Meanwhile Naruto and Samui were currently deep in the forest just outside of Wave Country. Currently Naruto had Samui's naked back up against a tree while both of her legs were wrapped around his equally naked waist. With his hands on her fast spreading her cheeks. Lemon happened. This is going to be a fun night. Chapter end. Alright, that's it for today's video guys. Let me know in the comments section how was the story and also don't forget to like, share and subscribe. I will meet you in another video. Peace out.